At exactly 4:47 a.m. this morning, telescopes across 3 continents captured something that fundamentally changed our understanding of what 3I Atlas has been doing in our solar system for the past 8 months. The object that we thought was simply orbiting between Mars and Jupiter has been broadcasting information into deep space using energy signatures that our most advanced instruments can barely detect. But what terrifies astronomers most isn't the transmission itself. It's what the decoded fragments reveal about the universe we thought we understood. My name is Professor David Richardson, and in 35 years of studying cosmic phenomena, I never imagined I would be the one to tell you that everything we believed about our place in the universe was fundamentally wrong. Because 3I Atlas isn't just an asteroid or a visitor, it's a messenger that's been sharing Earth's coordinates, biological data, and strategic vulnerabilities with intelligences we never knew existed. The discovery that changed everything. Have you ever wondered what would happen if scientists discovered that humanity has been systematically cataloged by cosmic intelligence for purposes we cannot comprehend? The discovery began at the Arecibo Observatory Replacement Facility when Dr. Maria Santos noticed an unusual pattern in the electromagnetic emissions surrounding 3I Atlas. What she initially dismissed as instrument interference turned out to be structured data transmission operating on frequencies that shouldn't be possible according to known physics. The transmissions weren't random. They followed mathematical progressions that suggested deliberate communication rather than natural phenomena. But here's what made Dr. Santos immediately contact emergency protocols at NASA. The transmission patterns contained embedded information about Earth, precise orbital mechanics, atmospheric composition, and something that looked disturbingly like biological classification systems for every major species on our planet. Within 6 hours of the discovery, 3 separate research teams at MIT, Cambridge, and Tokyo confirmed what Dr. Santos had found. 3I Atlas was transmitting detailed specifications about Earth to unknown recipients somewhere in deep space. The broadcasts included electromagnetic signatures that matched our satellite networks, radio emissions that cataloged our technological capabilities, and most disturbing of all, what appeared to be strategic assessments of human military capacity and social organization. We weren't just being observed, we were being documented with the systematic precision of scientists preparing a comprehensive database. The transmissions operate on principles that challenge fundamental physics. They use quantum entanglement patterns that allow instantaneous communication across galactic distances, completely bypassing the speed of light limitations that govern all known communication systems. But the physics behind these transmissions suggests something even more unsettling. 3I Atlas isn't generating this technology from scratch. It's accessing a pre-existing cosmic network, a communication infrastructure that spans the galaxy and has apparently existed long before humanity evolved. I need to share what happened when I first reviewed the decoded transmission data. I spent 17 hours analyzing mathematical structures that described Earth with more precision than our own planetary surveys. The detail was overwhelming. Gravitational anomalies mapped to the centimeter, mineral deposit locations accurate to the molecular level, and population distribution data that included demographic breakdowns we haven't published publicly. When I showed this to my research assistant, she asked the question that still haunts me. Professor, how long have they been watching us to gather this much information? The answer, based on the data depth, suggests surveillance that extends back decades, possibly centuries, the catalog of humanity. The decoded fragments revealed something that transformed this from a scientific curiosity into an existential crisis. 3I Atlas has been transmitting what can only be described as a comprehensive species profile for humanity. Detailed genetic mapping of human DNA, including variations across ethnic populations and geographic distributions. Psychological profiles based on analysis of human behavior patterns, social structures, and decision-making processes. Technological assessment cataloging every major advancement in human engineering, computing, and weapons development. Resource inventory documenting Earth's mineral wealth, water distribution, and agricultural capacity. Most terrifying was the assessment section. 3i Atlas has been evaluating human civilization according to criteria we don't understand, using metrics that suggest we're being compared to some cosmic standard. Dr. James Chen from Caltech's Deep Space Research Division described his reaction to seeing the human assessment data. Reading these transmissions felt like discovering your teacher's grade book where your entire species is being evaluated by standards we never knew existed. The assessment includes categories we can translate: adaptability, technological trajectory, threat potential, and cooperation capacity. But it also includes classifications we cannot interpret, terms and concepts that don't correspond to anything in human experience. When I showed these untranslatable sections to linguists and anthropologists, they suggested something disturbing. These might be evaluation criteria that only make sense to intelligences that perceive reality differently than humans do. We're being judged according to standards we cannot even comprehend, much less meet. My daughter asked me last night why I seemed worried about the space rock everyone's talking about. How do you explain to a 12-year-old that humanity is being cataloged like specimens in a cosmic database? That somewhere in the universe, intelligences we've never met are receiving detailed reports about our species, our planet, and our potential? The transmission data includes historical analysis suggesting that 3i Atlas has been observing human development for far longer than its 8-month presence in our solar system. The level of detail about human history, about civilizations that existed thousands of years ago, suggests that Earth has been under observation for the entire span of recorded history. Ancient astronomical anomalies that historians dismissed as myth or superstition suddenly take on new significance when viewed as potential evidence of long-term surveillance. The recipients in the darkness. But the most disturbing aspect of the discovery isn't what 3i Atlas is transmitting. It's where those transmissions are going. Deep space tracking has identified at least 23 distinct reception points scattered throughout our galaxy. Not random cosmic noise, but specific locations that are acknowledging receipt of Earth's data with their own structured responses. The recipient locations form a pattern that suggests coordination rather than coincidence, a network of observation points positioned to maintain comprehensive monitoring of our region of space. But here's what keeps astronomers working through the night in emergency sessions. The response transmissions aren't just acknowledgments, they're queries. Questions being sent back to 3i Atlas requesting additional information about specific aspects of Earth and humanity. Dr. Sarah Mitchell from the European Space Agency spent 72 hours analyzing the response patterns. Her preliminary report, now classified at the highest levels, describes the communication as resembling intelligence gathering protocols. One recipient location is requesting more data about human genetic diversity. Another is asking for detailed information about Earth's defensive capabilities. A third is inquiring about something we can only translate as consciousness substrate compatibility. They're not just receiving information about us. They're asking follow-up questions like researchers conducting a systematic study. The implications are staggering. The universe apparently contains an active network of intelligences that share information about developing civilizations. Earth isn't just being observed by 3i Atlas. We're the subject of distributed research being conducted by multiple cosmic entities simultaneously. The response locations are too far away for any known technology to reach within human lifetimes. The nearest confirmed recipient is 847 light-years from Earth. Yet they're communicating with 3i Atlas in real time, suggesting faster than light communication technology that makes our understanding of physics look primitive. When I tried to explain this to my wife, she asked a question I couldn't answer. David, if they can communicate across 847 light-years instantly, what else can they do that we think is impossible? The response transmissions contain their own embedded data, information about other planets, other species, other civilizations that these cosmic researchers have apparently cataloged before us. We're not the first. We're not unique. We're just the latest entry in what appears to be a galactic database of developing species, the pattern of previous contacts. Hidden within the transmission data are fragments that suggest 3I Atlas has done this before, references to other planetary systems, other carbon-based life forms, other technological civilizations that were documented and cataloged. The data includes what appear to be case studies, detailed records of how other species developed, how they responded to observation, and most chillingly, what happened to them after the documentation was complete. Dr. Robert Taylor, a xenobiologist who shouldn't even be involved in this research, was brought in when we realized the biological data included comparative analysis. His assessment after reviewing the fragments made headlines in classified briefings worldwide. These aren't just observations. These are before and after studies. Whatever happens after a species gets cataloged, 3I Atlas has records of the outcomes. Some of the reference species show technological advancement curves that suddenly flatline. Others display population changes that suggest either dramatic growth or catastrophic decline. But the most disturbing cases are the civilizations whose data simply stops. No explanation, no conclusion, just an end to the record as if the species ceased to exist or ceased to be worth monitoring. When government officials asked Dr. Taylor what this might mean for humanity, his answer triggered emergency protocols across 5 continents. If we're following a pattern, then we're currently in the documentation phase. What comes after documentation is what we should be terrified about. The historical data suggests that being cataloged by cosmic intelligence is a process with stages: observation, documentation, assessment, and then something the data doesn't clearly explain. A transition phase where species either advance to some new category or are reclassified in ways we cannot interpret. My colleague from Oxford, Professor Elizabeth Warren, spent weeks analyzing the linguistic structures in these historical records. Her conclusion was both fascinating and terrifying. The entities conducting this research don't think like us. Their concept of time, causation, and consequence operates on scales that make human planning look like impulse reaction. They're not in a hurry because they measure time in geological epochs rather than human lifetimes. What happens to Earth might not occur for decades or centuries, but it's already been decided based on the data 3I Atlas is collecting right now. The secrets about reality itself. But buried deep within the most complex transmissions are fragments that reveal something far more disturbing than surveillance or cataloging. 3I Atlas has been sharing information about the fundamental nature of reality that contradicts everything human science believes. The universe isn't what we think it is. The decoded data contains mathematical structures that describe reality as having far more dimensions than the 4 we experience. Not the theoretical extra dimensions that physicists speculate about, but actual functioning dimensions that cosmic intelligences navigate routinely. Space and time aren't fundamental. They're emergent properties of something deeper, something the transmissions refer to using a term we can only approximate as the substrate foundation. Dr. Jennifer Martinez from Princeton's Institute for Advanced Study has been analyzing these reality description fragments. Her preliminary findings, which she refuses to publish publicly, suggest that consciousness isn't a product of physical brains. According to the transmission data, consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe itself, and biological brains are just temporary focusing points for awareness that exists independent of matter. The implications are staggering. Everything we think we know about the relationship between mind and matter, between consciousness and physical reality, might be backwards. The transmissions describe what we call physical reality as something closer to a simulation or projection emerging from consciousness rather than consciousness emerging from physical processes. Advanced cosmic intelligences apparently understand this and can manipulate the substrate foundation directly, which explains how they achieve things like faster than light communication and the ability to catalog entire planetary systems with impossible precision. When I presented these findings to the Emergency Science Advisory Board, the room went silent for nearly 3 minutes. Then the director of the National Science Foundation asked the question everyone was thinking. Professor Richardson, are you telling us that these cosmic intelligences can manipulate reality itself, can rewrite the laws of physics, can alter the fundamental structure of existence? My answer triggered a classification level that most of the attendees didn't know existed. Based on the transmission data, yes. And they've been doing it for eons while we were just learning to make fire.